All right, let's dive into a really fascinating short letter in the New Testament. First Thessalonians. It's this super powerful message written to a group of people going through some seriously tough times. And you know what? It's got this timeless lesson about how to find hope when it feels like everything is stacked against you. So, let me ask you something before we even get into the history. When things get really tough, really difficult, what gives you hope? Where do you find that strength to keep going? It's a huge question, right? And it's the exact same one a small community was wrestling with almost 2,000 years ago in ancient Greece. Okay, so picture this Thessalonica. It's this major, bustling port city in ancient Greece. Think busy streets, lots of trade, a real hub. But for this tiny, brand new community of Christians, it was anything but friendly. It was actually a really hostile place to be. They were facing some serious persecution just for what they believed. And every single day was a battle just to hold on to their faith. Just try to imagine that for a second. You find this new faith, something that completely changes your life for the better. And then, boom, your neighbors, your community, they turn on you. You're an outcast. That was the reality for these believers in Thessalonica. This wasn't some abstract idea. They were a brand new church under incredible pressure, facing real, tangible suffering because of what they believed. And right into the middle of all this tension, a letter shows up. And guess who it's from? The very guys who first told them about their faith: Paul, Silas, and Timothy. They couldn't be there in person, so they sent this letter. It was basically a lifeline, a message of encouragement and guidance for a community that was really on the edge. Now, this is what's so amazing about how Paul starts this letter. He doesn't jump in with a list of rules or tell them what they're doing wrong. Nope. He starts with praise, with affirmation. He says, "We remember your work produced by faith, your labor prompted by love, and your endurance inspired by hope." He's essentially telling them, you guys are nailing it. You're an inspiration to everyone around you. So after building them up, Paul gets into some really practical day-to-day advice. He's like, okay, let's talk about how to live in a way that pleases God. He talks a lot about sexual purity, which you have to understand, in that Greco-Roman world was a huge deal. It was a totally countercultural idea. He also tells them, hey, love each other, work hard, be known as good people. These weren't just random rules. This was their game plan for surviving and even thriving in a world that was watching their every move. But there was something else going on. A deep fear that was eating away at them. See, some people in their little community had already passed away, and this heartbreaking question was just hanging in the air. What about them? Are they lost? Did they miss out on Jesus' return? You can just feel the grief and the confusion, can't you? And this is where Paul pivots. To deal with this massive fear, he points them toward the future. The big, central idea of this whole letter is the hope they have in what he calls the coming of the Lord. This single promise that Jesus would come back became everything for them. It was the anchor for their hope and the only real answer to that deep, deep grief. So Paul gives them this incredible reassurance. He basically says, listen, don't grieve like people who have no hope. And then he paints this picture for them. He says, the Lord himself is going to come down from heaven, and the believers who have died, they will rise first. And then he says, those who are still alive will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. Now that phrase caught up is where many theologians get the idea of the rapture of the church. It's seen as the specific event, separate from Jesus' final second coming to rule on earth. And for the people in Thessalonica, man, this was everything. It was this amazing comfort, a promise that death isn't the final word and that they would all be together again. So when you put it all together, you see these four big themes that are just the absolute heart of First Thessalonians. You've got faithfulness, sticking with it, even when it's hard. You've got love, really caring for each other in the community. Then there's holiness, living a good life every day. And what holds it all together? That one big thing, hope. The unshakable hope in the promise that Jesus is coming back. So if you boil it all down, what's the key takeaway from this 2,000-year-old letter? It's simple, really. Persevere. Keep going. No matter what life throws at you, you persevere in faith, you let love be your motivation, and you hold on tight to hope. That's what got the Thessalonian church through, and it's a message that's just as powerful for us right now. And that really leaves us with one last thing to think about. It's been 2,000 years, right? But the world is still full of hard times, and people still need hope. That hasn't changed one bit. So the question for you is, how can this ancient letter, this message of hope from so long ago, actually inspire you to keep going through whatever challenges you're facing right now.